We're at a really important point right now in our evolution as a species on the planet. My name is Gail Scott. I'm a galactic channeler, and I want to share with you an experience that I had around timelines. And so in the spiritual world, we talk about timelines. And if you've ever done a past life regression or timeline therapy, you'll know that for every life that you've had, there's a timeline. So for the current life that you're living, there's also a timeline. And the crazy thing in the quantum field is that there's actually billions and billions of timelines. And so with every choice that you make, you get to create the next now moment into a particular timeline. And that's constantly evolving. So we just finished the new moon in Capricorn last week. And I am a follower of the new moons and the full moons. And I don't always do workshops around them, but my good friend and fellow channeler, Benjamin SHURE, did a new moon portal workshop, I guess you'd call it. So I decided to participate. So while I was participating with that, he took us through what can only be described as a quantum leap. So I found myself in this workshop suddenly aware of the two major timelines that we're working through right now. So these two major timelines are the old world, third dimension, 3D, old Earth, and then the new timeline, which is 5D, the new Earth, the age of light, moving into Aquarius. So in the midst of this workshop, he offered us a quantum leap, basically the opportunity to shift from the old timeline to the new timeline. And I know it is my destiny to move on to the new timeline. So in my mind's eye, when we were doing the workshop, I had this vision of a 90-degree angle. Basically, I could see this really, really dark, solid gray line going out in front of me, which I knew was the old 3D timeline, the old Earth. And it's not to say that that's going to be destroyed. It's going to continue, and certain people are going to continue to live in that timeline. And right at the corner of the point that I could see in my mind's eye was another line coming out from that at 90 degrees, which was pure white. It was solid light, and it was going out almost in the opposite direction. And I knew in that moment in the workshop that I was at the point of the quantum leap to go from the old to the new. And so I did. In my mind, I jumped from the old to the new. But what was really interesting is what happened after that. In the moment that I jumped, I had this visceral, fearful experience within my body. You know, the idea that, have I left everything behind? Have I jumped into a chasm where everything that I know to be real and true and to be the way I know my world to be, is that gone? And I had this vision of my daughters and all the people that I love, and maybe I'm all alone on this white light line, and it just freaked me out. So what I did in my mind was I actually mentally created to weave the two lines together for a little bit at the point of joining. So I was at this corner, and I started in my mind to kind of create a weave between the two lines that eventually spread out into the two separate lines. I finished the workshop and I felt okay. And Benjamin came back to me and said, you know, how was the recording for you? Because I had been traveling while he'd done it live, so I was doing the recording. And I said, well, it was great, but I had this really weird experience. So I shared with him what had happened. And he sent me some light language, which I translated in my mind. And the message was very clear. The time is now, Gail. This is what you came here to do. This is what's going to, be your future. Don't be afraid. And in that moment, I realized that it was my ego that was afraid. When I had made that quantum leap, it was my ego that said, don't do that. What about everything that you hold dear? What about everything that we know to be the way the world is? No. Just like, make it easier, make it easier. And that's why I created that kind of weave between the two lines to kind of soften the leap for myself. But as I sat there listening to this light language, I knew that I didn't need to make that weave. I knew that I would be fine moving forward into this new light line. And I also recognized that my daughters and all the people that I love, they're on their own journey, and they're going to come to the light whenever they do, if they do at all. It's not my job to make it easier or to downplay my role in the world because of my fear of being alone. And it is kind of lonely being in this spiritual world sometimes. So I went back into my mind to that point where that quantum leap was. And I very gently, but specifically unraveled that weave that I had created, almost like pulling apart a piece of string. And I separated the two lines out again to what they had originally been in my mind when I went through the quantum leap experience. And I was back at that point of choice. And I stepped over into the white line and away from the dark line. And I did that with love, with trust, with faith, honoring myself. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because you may come to this point. You may already have come to this point with people in your life where you're worried that they're not going to come with you on your journey, or that they're so far away from where you are that, you know, you're never going to be able to be together again. And what I want to say to you is that we're all here for our own journey. And all of the people that we love and care about are here for their own journeys too. And it's really important that you honor your journey and make sure that when you're traveling and you're making decisions, and I don't mean traveling on an airplane, I mean traveling in life, and that when you're making decisions for yourself, that you're doing it from the heart, that you're doing it from a place of as much surety as you can in terms of, this is who I need to be. This is what I need to do. This is the right thing for me. So I welcome you into my world, which is the world of light and love. And I'm here to support you. And in the meantime, if you have some of these, you know, quantum leap moments, rest assured that your soul is there, covering your back, supporting you, loving you, and helping you to travel along whatever line you happen to be on.